Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. And I'm going to start us off, Jason. I'm going to go on a tirade about the PGA Tour today.
Go right ahead.
And so I've been watching it for the last couple of days, and I woke up this morning. I watched the Phil Mickelson thing yesterday, and I've never seen that before, and I can see why people would be upset. So I saw that, and I thought, but get over it, because you're talking about it all the time.
Do you think they should be as upset as the ESPN headline should be? Where he shouldn't just take the penalty, that he should, in fact, withdraw from the tournament because he disgraced the sport of golf?
No, I think he just lost his temper, and that's fine.
Yeah, he apologized, took the two strokes. I mean,
he's a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, did it change the outcome of the game? Did it affect anybody else's game? The answer is no.
No.
But then when I had to hear that, well, maybe he was upset because of the way the course was. And then I heard another golfers complaining about the course. And my thought is, if you get a $12 million purse, put on your big boy pants and play golf. I mean, you know what? If it's tough, it's tough. That's why you're out there. That's why you're a pro. We, as the fans, expect you to compete at the highest level. And if there's challenges and if there's weather or whatever it is, we expect you to suck it up and do your best. And that's what we expect. So I wouldn't watch it today, because if you're going to whine about it, you get a chance to make, there's a $12 million purse, $12 million. And yeah, the greens are a little faster and the wind is maybe playing a role, but that's what you do. You're a professional golfer. You know, you want to play something else, go play putt-putt. And then I'm upset because, are we going to start widening home plate because it's too hard? Or are we going to we're going to make the goalpost wider in football because it's too hard? Are we going to make the net bigger in hockey because it's too hard? That's just a bunch of BS. You're a professional athlete. Man up and play the game. And that's my tirade.
And I would think, I'm not a golf fan myself, obviously, but I think it'd be refreshing from time to time to watch a much more difficult course.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to see...
So what? You're not 20 under par. You're one under par. You're going to win. That's fine. That shows the course was challenging, and it was a test of your skill.
Right, and a better test, and the same test for everybody. I realize that you start in the morning, and the wind changes or the rain changes, but that's every course of golf. Whether you're playing the Masters or the local course, it doesn't really matter. And back to the money issue, as we learned in Happy Gilmore, even if you come in last place, it's still pretty sweet if you make the cut.
Yeah, you make the cut. I mean,
you're making a teacher's salary. You make an entire teacher's salary for coming in last place. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's my piece on that.
And again, I think it's you get to watch golf basically 365 days a year. You can watch them go 20 under par at every other course. It's nice to have one that's sort of the
And if you think the course is unfair, don't go back. There's not a gun in your head to go play, and there's not a gun in your head if you're the tour about picking that site. You pick the sites, people bid on it. If you think the place is unfair and you don't want to play there, don't go. There's a lot of other courses that will love to host the U.S. Open.
Right. As we've established, this is not a new complaint. It's a louder complaint this year, it seems like, but definitely not a new complaint.
Well, it really put me off, so I didn't watch it all today, and I'm not watching. I don't care who wins.
Okay.
So I decided I might watch some World Cup now because I need to have a rooting interest. And so my team is going to be Iceland.
That seems to be the hot pick this year. No Italy? Is Italy on it?
No, I don't think I would assume Italy's in, but I don't know. We're not enough soccer experts to know, but I know Iceland won yesterday, and that was a big upset, so I'm rooting for Iceland. If I was in New Jersey or Delaware, I'd be putting my money down. I'd be making my bet on Iceland.
I watched the last 20 minutes of Mexico's upset win today when I was at the restaurant.
Yeah, that looked fun, too.
It was exciting. There was a missed, very close bicycle kick that was pretty exciting. And knowing that the Germans were the favorite team in that particular game, and Mexico was just, holding on, and Germany had all these chances down the stretch, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And I will say the one thing that I've heard a lot of soccer fans, or converted soccer fans, have said, the time does go by quick. Like, it's not a 4-hour event, which is kind of nice on some level,
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there was 31 minutes left when I sat down to eat, and I probably ate for 40 minutes and I saw the entire end of the game. Whereas if that was football or another sport, we would have been there for, 2.5 hours.
Well, if you wait for 40 minutes, I can hardly wait for the food moment.
I still prefer, obviously, American football, but
Yes.
I just try. All right,
Yeah,
so
I'm going to adopt Iceland for my team.
okay. Well, I guess since I watched them play, I'll adopt Mexico. They were exciting.
Okay.
And if they, they're our neighbors of the South. It's
All right,
America
so we're
adjacent.
We're at 48 hours from the NBA draft.
Yes, we are.
And I don't think there's any doubt who's going number one.
I suppose there isn't. I guess it's Ayton. And again,
I'm pretty sure I know the Suns are expecting 8,000 to 9,000 people to come out for their draft event.
That's pretty impressive.
And hopefully they're going to buy some tickets.
Now, I was thinking about just different players in the draft. Like I said, I think we've already established that I'm not a big Ayton fan. I think it's great that he's as athletic as he is and he can shoot threes, and that Mo Bamba can shoot threes, but at the end of the day, I still need my 7-footer to protect the rim and rebound. And I know Ayton's a good rebounder, but he looked terrible playing defense.
Well, Mo Bamba's a pretty good defender.
He is, and I'm going to go on I'll go on my own little rant just because it's been, I think I've gone on a slight one like this before, but it still bothers me, especially because this is considered a big man draft.
Yeah,
but
it really is.
Just the term small ball. Like when you look at the finals, Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall. Klay Thompson is 6'7". LeBron James is 6'8", 290 pounds. Small ball is a bit of a misnomer. You just can't be big and bulky anymore. You have to be a fluid athlete. But to pretend that we're all of a sudden...
You get some quickness.
Yeah. But the league is not
like
made...
You camp out. It's not like you're going to be Mark Eaton or somebody like that.
No. And they want you to be able to step out and be a threat. So that when you step out of the paint, you're still a threat to shoot so they can't clog the lane up for your drivers. But it's still not a small person's league. Like Steph Curry, who's still over 6 feet tall, is more of an anomaly. Like he's one of the smaller players. So we really haven't gone.
He's a slight build too.
He's slight build. So we really haven't gone small ball. We just become much more skilled ball. I don't know.
That's fair.
Which brings me to probably the most polarizing prospect in the draft. Speaking of small and slight, and that's Trae Young. And he's considered to go anywhere from 4 to 13 at this point, according to whoever you're listening to. He did show some signs of being a legitimate star. Like he's got a little bit of that, swagger, confidence. He did lead the NCAA in scoring. He averaged 8.8 assists, a couple steals, a couple rebounds. But he's got a 6'3" wingspan. I think he's 6'1" in shoes, and he's very slight. And it's hard to, I went to grad school in Orlando, and you obviously did some work for the Orlando Magic, and it seems like he's been connected with that team quite a bit.
I've also seen him go on the Cavs.
Yeah, the Cavs as well. Well, I think they need some excitement because LeBron's going to leave. So he's the name that, your mom knows and everybody knows. So I think that makes him slightly.
Star or bust?
I hate to say it, I think he's going to be kind of a bust. Or at the very least, he's going to be Seth Curry. Maybe an off-the-bench rotational guy for your team. And maybe someday he can be your...
Make sure everybody said Seth Curry, not Steph Curry.
Yeah, Seth, who does play in the league. It's no knock. He's an excellent basketball player. He's a professional basketball player, but I just feel like his ceiling is sort of a Jamal Crawford 6-man off the bench scoring spark. I don't think he can be your starting point guard because I think you look at the way with all the switching on defense and they're just constantly trying to get a big player on a small player, back to the whole small ball big ball thing, and he's going to get exploited through that all the time. So,
do you think Sexton is a point guard?
I like Sexton a little bit better. He's a much better athlete, which I think is important in modern NBA times. See, if I was, let's say, the Magic who were linked to him, and if the Clippers were willing to, I would, in this draft in particular, because as much as I think that, Luka Doncic is going to be a very good player, I'd rather take 2 swings at 12 and 13 than 1 swing at 6 with this particular draft. Because you got guys like Michael Porter, who was the highest-rated basketball player coming into the season. He had the back injury, and now you don't know, is this new injury a real injury, or is he trying to make himself fall to a certain team?
Then you got to see if it's an Embiid kind of a pick, right?
Right. And then you got your Jaren Jackson, who everybody says is the safest, lowest floor pick. And then you got your Mo Bamba, who, never really dominated college. For as big as he, and that's another, I think it's one of the issues with the one and dones, but like, you want to see somebody at least ball out in college,
Mm-hmm.
So
where does Doncic go?
I think he goes forward to the Grizzlies, unless somebody trades in and grabs him. Because I've heard that Memphis is currently shopping the number 4 pick, and they've attached that albatross of, who's the kid from Florida that they have stuck on there? They outbid the Mavericks for, that's been stuck on their team forever. I can't remember, but he's sort of been a bust of a player, but he's owed $30 million a year for the next 2 seasons. So I think they're desperately looking to get rid of that pick. But I think if they can't get rid of it or swap it, they would probably take Doncic. Just because,
Yeah.
I think that's, Memphis has had, Mike Conley's hurt all the time and Gasol. And they're a weird team. Because you don't even know what they were trying to do. Because Conley's hurt a lot.
They're like one of those teams right now it's kind of like a whirlpool. They're just bobbing up and down and not moving forward and not really moving backward, but just kind of stuck. And that's the worst thing you can do, is be stuck.
Because Gasol is still a very good player. And Conley, when healthy, is an excellent player. But even those two, I don't think you're as good as New Orleans, who's not good enough to, win a round of the playoffs. I'd still rather have, the duo in New Orleans and the duo in Memphis. And I think if I got the 4 pick, if I'm Memphis, I'm looking to try and trade Gasol, see if Conley comes back and try to get something for him and just, bottom out and then try to start again.
All right, so let's talk about Kawhi, LeBron, just for a couple minutes, because I know people maybe think we're over the top on basketball, but we're just closing on the draft, and that's our topic. But so how do you think this plays out, Jason? Where do you think they end up?
With Kawhi,
Remember, you got to trade for Kawhi.
You got to trade for Kawhi because he's got a year left. I felt this way a long time ago when my favorite team, the Knicks, traded for Carmelo Anthony. Don't give up assets for a guy that's going to be a free agent in a year. Now, I know that Kawhi wants to be a LA Laker or LA Clipper. He wants to be in Los Angeles. But if I'm the Lakers, if I have to give up Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, maybe Josh Hart, and potentially Lonzo Ball just to bring in Kawhi Leonard, I got nothing left on my team. Even if I add LeBron and maybe Paul George. Maybe. It's still an excellent team, but I give up all my youth moving forward. And I'm still looking at Kawhi, and I'm like, you missed you've had a recurring hamstring injury, and you just missed a year. And I just...
Or did he just not want to play? And he's saving himself for his new team? Was he that petty?
It sounds like he's not
making...
making...
It was Kawhi's guys that said he couldn't play. It wasn't the Spurs guys.
No, the Spurs guys went out of their way to say that he should play.
Yeah.
And in fact, could play, which I think further alienated Kawhi Leonard from that team.
Yep. So maybe he was healthy the last 2 months, Jason, just didn't want to play.
I think the only team that can afford to trade for him, and that San Antonio would probably maybe want to trade with, would be Boston. And if I'm Boston, I'd much rather have, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown on rookie deals, and a returning Gordon Hayward in that spot than a $30 million a year Kawhi Leonard.
But you can add Kawhi Leonard to your team basically without giving anything but maybe a player and a couple of the big high draft picks.
If possible, yeah, that'd be pretty. That would be an insane team.
Yeah. Because if you're the Spurs, you might rather have about 2 or 3 draft picks because you might want to bottom out. You just might want to start restocking and rebuilding.
Yeah, but I would insist on getting Brown or Tatum, and I'd probably want Scary Terry as well, and maybe even Marcus Smart in that deal. If I get get him on a sign and trade. Or I'm not sure with the Spurs salary cap situation and see if there's anybody I need to dump in that trade too. But I'd want a lot of those assets if I'm giving them Kawhi Leonard.
Well, we'll stay tuned Tuesday night and see how the first part of all this plays out.
Yes, and LeBron, it's kids like LA. I think the LA Lakers would be an excellent situation even if he doesn't get anybody else this year. I like the pieces they have on that team. It's a better team than the Cavs team.
Yeah, but you're gonna play the Warriors and the Rockets 4 times each.
Yeah. But again, if I can go there with just me and Paul George, or apparently because Chris Paul is a free agent, and then the very dark horse free agent out there is Kevin Durant, who you can't imagine leaving, but technically is a free agent.
Yeah.
And it seems like, as we talked about last week, there is some behind the scenes unhappiness in Golden State. And there does seem to be a bit of a battle as to who is the alpha on that team. And even though neither Steph nor Clay nor Kevin Durant seems to be a guy that wants to be in that alpha role, like a Westbrook insists on being, I think ego-wise, both those guys want it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well,
so let's bring in our guest now.
Yes, because this is Sutton Impact Family Style, and we've yet to have a family member on. So today we are adding a family member.
That's right. And I'll put her on right now.
Sharon Sutton. Are we here, Mom?
Hello, Jason. I'm here.
Wow, it's your
First of all, I want to wish a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Even though I guess they're not even watching, we'll listen to this on Sunday.
It's still nice, you get a week, I think,
Yeah,
before and after to sort of, make that work. So you were one of our first supporters on Patreon, and now you're our first guest.
Why, thank you.
Yes. So what do you want to talk about today as our first guest on Sutton and Back Family Style?
Well, I don't really know, but I thought originally that the idea was I had been very negative about the Pirates this year, and that's what you were going to ask me about.
Well, we can certainly go that.
Pardon me?
We can definitely hop into that. I mean, the last few years you have been, every time I've seen you guys at the beach or come over to the house on vacation, you're wearing your Pirate gear and you're sitting down with Dad watching the games.
Right. And a week ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said I was totally on that same place, that I used the word, my heart was broken with the choice that they made to get rid of McCutchen and Cole, and seems like the commitment not to try to get the best players and keep the best players here in Pittsburgh. But being here in Pittsburgh the last 3 days has mellowed me a little bit. I do tie Pittsburgh and the Pirates together, and PNC Park is a great park to go to.
It's
and
they did
win two games. Well, we saw 2 games they won. They actually had won 3 games in a row. And then today, watching families, a dad walking 2 little girls, with their cotton candy in their hand, and, some, 3 generations going to the games. I don't know. I found myself mellowing a little bit. I have to be honest. Dad's raising his eyebrows. But I'm not at that same place that you just talked about. Other years, I knew the schedule. Sometimes I even knew who the pitcher was going to be. I knew who they were playing. I just can't quite go there this year. But I did mellow being at the games today, or yet the last 3 days.
I would say, personally, the McCutchen trade hurt from a personal standpoint, just because he was a great ambassador to our home city of Pittsburgh, and obviously an excellent Pirate. But on some level, with the talent they had coming up with Austin Meadows and Polanco and Marte, and the performance he was doing, you could kind of see that trade. It's just, he was getting it, not that he hadn't performed quite as well the last 2 years. He was over 30. And you probably weren't going to re-sign him to big money anyway, so getting something for him made a little bit of sense, even from a baseball standpoint, even if you were trying to win. But
I understand that.
But the Garrett Cole trade was the one that really just was like, you have a young pitcher he's been incredible this year. Now, he gave us a little bit of a disappointment in Pittsburgh, I think, given his high standing.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still a solid Major League Baseball starter. You had team controller for 2 more years, and you traded him.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, that was... Then it sort of felt like, as it's been since probably like 1994, like the same old Pirates.
Right, exactly. And then even a couple other people that we were around said, there's some new players and they're sort of exciting and everything, but you're sort of hesitant to want to get too personally involved with them again because, if they're really good, they're probably just going to be leaving. Something else, and it's, to me, I thought this was amazing. When we drive into town and we ended at the airport, we get our rental car and Dad tells me to put it on 93.7, which is this sports radio talk show, and they always ask people living in Pittsburgh to call in, and usually, I mean, and some of the people that call in, I think sound a little knuckleheaded, but everybody wants to come in and talk,
Of course.
and so they wanted to talk about what we've been talking about. Would have been better if they were going to just try to get rid of everyone on the Pirate and just really start over from scratch, or to keep doing what they seem like they've been doing. And they asked that question, I don't know how many times, Bill, and repeated the phone number. Nobody called in. Nobody even wanted to talk about the Pirates. And this is Pittsburgh.
Well,
Pittsburgh Talk Radio.
We are in Steelers season, technically. I mean,
Well, true. And I think that you're right. There would have been plenty of phone calls there. No doubt. No doubt.
Because I think probably since at least Lemieux and Yager, I feel like the Pirates have been the number 3 team in Pittsburgh anyway of the 3 professional sports. Like, Steelers are always far and away the most popular team in that town.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And then I think because you went from Lemieux and Yager to Crosby and Malkin, that the Penguins have, they've been winning a lot in hockey, that they, and obviously with the Pirates having their struggles, so.
Yeah, you're right. Well, listen, this was fun. Thank you for having me as your guest.
Well, before you leave, we have to ask our standard questions. What's your passion right now as far as your entertainment? Is there a book? Is there a movie, television show? Anything got you excited?
Let me think about this. Oh, gosh, I'm a little off my thing. No, I can't really say there's any TV show right now that I'm really into. We've been so busy lately. We haven't been watching, well, as you know, NYPD Blue reruns, which really dates us, but we've been enjoying watching that from the beginning to the end, and we're in I think the last couple of years of the season, so that's been sort of fun. Book, what did I just read? Gosh, that's pretty sad to not be able to remember which book I just
Well, you read pretty
finished.
frequently, so sometimes that gets easy.
Anyway, because this would probably be, it's called The Shoemaker's Wife, and I'm so big into historical fiction. If you have any women listeners out there, I think they tend to be more into that. It was about the immigration in the late 1800s, 1900s, and the Italian immigrants who came to the United States. So I found it interesting. Enjoyed that a lot.
Okay, and I don't always have an answer for this because I've used up a lot of mine living in the city, but is there a food moment you've had recently that you would like to recommend for the people?
For the people. we went to a Jamaican restaurant last night. That was a little out of our comfort zone, or our something we usually eat at, and it was fun. It was very good. We got a Caribbean, what was it called? Tropical paella. So it was fun. It was very nicely decorated. The food had a little bit of that, like you eat it and it tastes, the first bite's great, and then you get a lot of that afterburn. But it was good. It was fun. It was a good time.
Nice. And that was in Pittsburgh, huh? And
that was in Pittsburgh, down in the Strip District. And of course, the Pamela's breakfast, which I think your dad has talked about before on the station, on your show, and we did have those delicious pancakes that are really unique and great.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, well, I'm going to let you go to your dad, and I appreciate talking to you, Jason.
Of course.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was our first ever guest star for Sutton Impact Family. My mom,
Yes.
Your wife.
And she neglected to mention that we saw the number 1 play on SportsCenter. An amazing Billy Hamilton catch in center field today.
Very nice.
And it was just rated number 1. And then my food moment was a la familia, which I've talked about before. We had it Thursday night, and it was absolutely amazing.
Well,
They have a meatball appetizer that is just to die for. Meatball gigante, it's called.
meatball gigante. I assume that's a giant meatball.
It's a giant meatball with provolone and a ton of sauce. And you know why you would love this restaurant? Because there's a bowl of Parmesan, a big bowl of Parmesan on every table.
Yes. I don't need to go on a full rant, but I know it's nice to have the freshly, where they grate it freshly on your table. Like for you, they say little Parmesan here.
Yep.
But I like full access to my Parmesan. You can leave me the grater and the cheese chunk. I don't feel like I should be limited. But
I don't think you could have drank this bowl. It was that big.
well, it would have been a challenge. I would have loved to try that. I had a food moment today of all days. I think I had what I would consider to be the best barbecue in New Orleans. I went to Central City Barbecue on Rampart Street. Since I moved down here a year ago, most people have told me that this was the best barbecue, and it's shocking that I actually hadn't made it down there. But there's some other really good barbecues very close to the house, so I'd kind of gone to them. But today I was inspired. I got the 3-meat platter. So I got chopped brisket, which was fantastic, very smoky, very flavorful. I got the pulled pork, very solid pulled pork, and then probably the best thing I had was their beef burnt ends.
Ooh, beef burnt ends. I love beef burnt ends.
And these were like, it was just, it looks like just a big hunk. Each one looked like a big hunk of steak with obviously the burn sharp, the deliciousness on the outside. I got for sides, I got mac and cheese and fries. The fries were fresh cut French fries made in house, which is always great.
And how was the sauce?
They have 3 main sauces. They have a sweet, a spicy. Both of those I enjoyed quite a bit. The spicy was not super spicy, but it had a little kick, but it was really nice. And mixed with the sweet, I think, was my favorite, just to mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third sauce that they have, and the bartender actually recommended this sauce to me. I tried it. It just wasn't, I'm not a big, it's like a very clearly vinegary sort of sauce.
Yeah, I don't like that kind.
No, but I was glad they had the other ones. And it's a pretty cool place. It's almost like a little fort. Like when you pull into the parking lot, it's a giant wooden fence all around. The back wall is all train cars stacked up. And then it's a huge facility. And in the back, in one of the dining rooms, so you can stay cool in the air conditioning because New Orleans is really hot. But they have a big glass wall. And through the glass wall, you can look at 8 giant metal smokers all lined up. But they're basically just cooking on the entire time.
Well, I'll definitely have to hit this spot next time I come visit you in New Orleans.
And it was very reasonably priced. So that's that's a...
That's a bonus.
Like I said, it was a 3-meat plate with 2 sides. I think it was $18, which I think is a pretty fair rate for
I think
barbecue.
So too.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, your mother and I will be going to Fiore's.
My favorite pizza in the world.
So we'll be there tomorrow. So real good food week for the family.
Yes, indeed. Let's go over my business moment real quick towards the end, because I thought of another little side thing. So basically, the 3 biggest companies in video games, excluding PC right now, are obviously Sony with the PlayStation, Microsoft and Xbox, and Nintendo. One of the biggest games in the world right now is Fortnite, which, celebrities are playing, kids are playing in school, it's disrupting classrooms, it's everywhere. It's like a fun building shooter team-based game. It's pretty fun. I played it a few times. Normally, like with a lot of shooters, you play with just your own people. So if you're an Xbox person, you play with Xbox people, Sony people, Nintendo people. With Fortnite, PC, Xbox, and Nintendo people can all play together right now. And the one holdout is Sony. Now, Sony, as I mentioned to you earlier, when this is sort of an important part of this point, is the market leader. They've almost sold Xbox One 2-1. But I think a few things are important to remember in this. Is that the very last generation, Sony was way behind and Xbox was ahead. And it's one of those races where it seems like every time whoever's in the lead gets very confident and cocky and almost arrogant, and then they fail coming out of the gates, and then they're playing catch-up for the entire generation. And that was Xbox this time, and it was PlayStation the time before. And this is also the second game, I can't remember the first one, where PlayStation did not want to play with the other kids. And the first time it happened, even the PlayStation community didn't feel like, no, screw Xbox, screw Nintendo, we have our own community, we don't care. They were like, why can't we play with everybody? So from a business standpoint, knowing that that's what the people want, and just this one time with a game like Fortnite, like why not just throw them a bone, I suppose, for the good PR?
And my response is that if Sony throws them the bone, that bone is putting the other product on equal footing with Sony, and that's why Sony's not going to do it. If Sony says it's okay for you to play on this system, to play this game against people that have our game, you're also inviting unwelcome comparisons with people might say on social media, hey, I played against the Sony team, we kicked their ass. Or, Sony people saying, wow, we're at disadvantage because this game's better. So you're never going to if you're the market leader, you're never going to put yourself in a position to put the competitor on equal footing with you. You're just not going to do it.
I see. Because if you're Nintendo, and I love the Switch, I think it's a brilliant device, and I think moving forward, that's what you're going to have is a portable device that you can just plug right into your TV and seamlessly move back and forth.
Sure.
It's been the dream since I was a child playing video games, and now it's pretty much here. But Switch is still, at the same time, as great a system as it is, it's the far inferior technical specs. As amazing as it is to do what they do, from a hardware standpoint, graphic standpoint, it's not quite up to par. But they're still allowing themselves to be played with the superior technology of the Xbox. So they don't mind the comparison.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're trying to improve it any way they can, so they come up with the killer application for what Switch or whatever it's going to be called. Like. So
yeah,
it's hard to say. But I'm just speaking. If I was Sony, that's why I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Even though people want it.
Yeah, I just thought this would be the one where it's like, it's, as you're getting prepared for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Y or whatever the next 1X would be, 2X, I guess, I don't know, on the next Nintendo. Because, I mean, the generation will probably be, we'll start seeing the new machines in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like you've got this this momentous lead. Like, I think you want as much good PR so that that people still see you as the best and the one everybody wants. But, I don't know. I thought that was an issue just from I couldn't quite understand Sony's perspective. But now I think we've got a little bit of clarity, so that's good.
All right. Well, I want to close off the show by wishing all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. And for those of you whose father has passed, I wish you great memories of the time you spent with your father on Father's Day.
And I, of course, would like to wish you, my father, a happy Father's Day again. I know I just did it through text, which is great.
And I appreciate it. This was good because we're not together, but we are together, so it's good. Exactly.
And this is almost, next week will be episode 70, if you can believe it. We've been here for over a year, which I think is pretty impressive. Mostly coming through on a pretty regular schedule, with a few exceptions from time to time. And again, we really appreciate all our Patreon supporters. And if you are a Patreon supporter and you want to call into the show, we'll put you on air, because I think that would be a blast.
I think it would too. So we set a precedent with our first guest today. And we know we're planning the special video game segment show with Dan after the wedding.
Yes.
And so if somebody else has an idea for a guest on our show, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and especially, if you're one of our supporters, you're clearly already family. And if you're one of our our blood-related family members, then please, by all means, call in. Or email us with questions. And we'd like a lot more of that too. Like, Sutton Impact on Twitter, correct?
Yep, Sutton_Impact on Twitter.
Hit up some questions, because especially, I think these next month or so, until football really gears up, is a little bit slow after the draft. So we're probably going to be going on a lot more tangents. So if you got some other questions you'd like to hear answered, please send them in. Please rate us on iTunes and continue to support us as much as possible. So until next week, thank you.